Hey, I hope you're keeping well. Today I'm going to show you how to do some more myofascial release. And what we're hoping to achieve by focusing on the two areas we're going to do today is pretty much the same thing as what I showed you in my last video. So one of the areas is going to help you to relieve neck pain and headaches. And another one is going to help with low back pain, hip pain, and will also help with hip mobility and functionality. So the first area we're going to focus on is a group of muscles called the suboccipitals. There's 4 of them on each side, and they sit right at the top of the neck or at the base of the skull. Now these muscles have a tendency to get tight and stiff through things like looking at your phone, reading, sitting at a desk for prolonged periods, and so on. And as always, what we're hoping to affect here is the myofascia, which we now know is the name of the fascia that goes in and around our muscles. But we're also hoping to affect the dura mater. The dura mater is also a fascia. It's the fascia that covers your central nervous system, so your brain stem, and your spinal cord. And the reason why we're going to be affecting that is because one of the suboccipitals, the rectus capitis posterior minor, also inserts and attaches to the dura mater. So it attaches to the occipital at the back of the skull, like all suboccipitals, but it also attaches to the dura mater. Now this is really important because if it's tight, it's going to make the dura mater tight, and that's going to affect the natural fluctuations of cerebrospinal fluid, which is a fluid that protects your central nervous system, and it also feeds it, provides nutrients, and it removes waste products as well. So let's get to it. We've got a lacrosse ball as before, and I've also got a yoga block down here, but instead of the yoga block, you can use a book if you like. I'm also going to show you how to do this without a ball, so just using your fingers. Because the area is quite nice and small, we can actually get our fingers in there and affect the tissues. So I'm going to angle the camera down just to show you what I'm doing. Okay, so what we're looking to find is the very base of the skull. We're not actually going on the cranium itself, but just below it, the very top of the neck. So we're going to place the ball and the kind of middle part of the back of the neck, top of the neck there, and we're just going to lie on the yoga block. So as I said, to begin with, start in the middle and let that sink into the tissues and affect the myofascia. And if it feels sore and stiff, after a minute or two, you will start to feel that pain dissipate as the myofascia, the adhesions, get released. So we'll do that for a couple of minutes, and then you can just move the ball along a little bit towards the outside a little bit more so that we can focus on a couple of other suboccipital muscles. And again, same as always, we're not putting any force on it ourselves by moving and rolling around. We are just allowing the ball to sink into the tissues, nice and relaxed. And again, do that for a minute or two. Now, as I said, we can do this without the ball. We can do it using our fingers. So you're going to be using your middle fingers to put pressure into the muscles there. But I also want you to put the 2 fingers either side of the middle finger up against the middle finger just to provide some support, okay? So you're going to find the very, very base of the skull, or the top of the neck there. You're going to place your fingers there, and you're going to lie down again. So you can use a pillow if you like. You can use this yoga block, although something slightly smaller like a smaller book would be good. Or I quite like to do it with nothing there. So place the middle finger into that part of the neck and and just allow your head to sink into the finger there. And really it's hardly any effort at all. The pressure itself is coming from gravity pulling your head down, rather than me actually pushing into the tissues with my fingers. I just place my hand like that, and then I just drop my head onto it. And that feels really, really nice. And again, you can sit on this for a couple of minutes to feel the benefits. Now, I actually prefer this method, the method without the lacrosse ball. And the reason for that is that you can actually get a little bit further underneath the cranium there, and you're also in control of the pressure. So if it's too much with the lacrosse ball, you're not really going to be able to change that. So I would use the technique without the lacrosse ball. And that's going to help you with neck pain and also to relieve headaches. And this part of the neck is a really important junction for lots of blood vessels and lots of nerves, all the occipital nerves coming through there. So moving on, I'm going to angle the camera back up and I'll show you my next area I'd like to focus on. Okay, so the next area is going to be the gluteus medius muscle. It's one of your gluteals, and it sits right at the top of the hip there. And the reason why we're going to focus on that is because it has a tendency to get tight, and when it gets tight and it doesn't work properly, it's very commonly associated with low back pain and of course hip pain. But also it's going to affect your stability, your hip stability, and I'll get to that in a minute. And when you affect your hip stability, if that's not quite working right, then your knees are going to be affected as well, and possibly your ankles as well. So this is a really good muscle to get into. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about the function of the gluteus medius. So I'll turn around. So the gluteus medius stops your hip from dropping when you're walking. So it stops your hip from doing that as you're walking. So the gluteus medius is here. I hope you can see this clearly. When it contracts, it pulls the hip up. Okay? Now, if it's not doing its job properly, another muscle is going to come in and take over. And that muscle is on the opposite side in the back. So this isn't working properly. So this is going to come in and take over the job. So my hip is unstable here, and this muscle will contract to bring the hip up. Now that muscle, if it's overactive, it will be sore. And that's why you get low back pain if you have an issue in your gluteus medius. And I see this a lot in my clinic. So it's a common one, and it's something that's really good to get into and break down the adhesions, make sure the muscle can work properly. If you're dealing with a weakness in the gluteus medius, that's a separate thing. We can look at exercises for that in a different video. But for now, let's look at how we can break down those adhesions in the myofascia. I'm going to angle the camera back down. So, we are going to use a lacrosse ball, and also afterwards I'm going to show you how to do this with a foam roller. I'm not a huge fan of foam rollers, but I know that it's more common for people to have one of these than to have a lacrosse ball. So let's start off with the lacrosse ball. What you want to do is place the ball just below the waistline or the belt line, and towards the outside of the hip a little bit as well, because that's one of the areas that tends to get really, really tight. And what you're going to do, you're going to put your elbow on the floor like this, and flex your hip here and have your legs in this position here, and we're just going to place the ball in that area. Now this is an area that I've been working on myself for quite a while, and it really has helped to relieve that low back pain that I've had associated with that. And this feels really, really great. It can feel really sensitive and a bit painful. If that's the case, if you can relax into it and breathe into it and eventually allow that pain to dissipate, that would be great. But if it's too painful, you can do the same thing, just lying on your back. And the reason why lying on your back is better if it's sore is because you can then decide how much pressure you're putting on it. So the more I turn this way, the more pressure and more weight is going onto the ball. The more if I turn that way a little bit, then that's less sore and there's less pressure being applied there. So, similar or same idea but using a foam roller. You're going to sit on the foam roller. I'm going to angle myself this way a little bit so you can see. And I'm going to be working on the right side, on the right glute medius. So, sit on the foam roller, place your right leg, your right foot rather, on your left knee, and then angle your hips that way, so that you're focusing on the outer part of the hip. And then you're going to roll up towards the top, and then you'll start to feel when you get to that tight glute medius. And I've started to feel that I'm on it there, so I will just sit here and let that sink into the tissues for a couple of minutes, maybe even 3 minutes. So, that's it for today. I've got plenty more videos coming your way, so do keep an eye on my page. I'm going to be talking about how you can relieve muscles in and around your shoulders, which can help with posture, it can help with improved shoulder mobility, it can help with reducing shoulder pain. I'll also be talking about breathing mechanics and giving you some breathing tips to help improve your mechanics and how that can also affect your posture. I'm going to be talking about how you can do some self-massage on areas on your face and on your neck, and I'll be showing you a bit more myofascial release. We can never have too much of that. I'll also be talking a bit about pain, how we feel it, why we feel it, why different people perceive it differently, and so on. So there's loads of content coming your way, so keep an eye on my page. And if you're into these videos as well and you fancy sharing them around, that would be really useful for me. If you're on Facebook, you can just click share and it will share it onto your page. If you're on Instagram, you can click the send to little arrow thing at the bottom there, and that will share a short clip of my videos to your story, to your Instagram story. So if you could do that, I'd be really grateful. I hope you're all keeping well, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon.